Whoops. It's definitely that day.
You're listening to Real Crimes, the Movie Sleuth podcast.
Well, she'll be there. It's just been, this last week and a half has been this constant go.
Yeah.
It has not stopped with all the house stuff going on here and graduation party stuff and everything else that's going on. It's been pure
bananas.
Insanity.
Mm-hmm.
So forgive us if we have some technological glitches here, but I think we got it worked out now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it's another episode of Real Crime. Tonight is episode 119.
119.
But technically, it's episode 120.
Ooh.
Because we did the other one-off episode together.
Oh.
With Steve.
Okay. Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And that wasn't like an official episode. So.
We got to do that again. We should do
something
like that again.
Yeah, we need some more guests on is what we need. So we'll
Yeah.
start working on that. So tonight we're actually going to be talking about our favorite rock and roll biopics. But first, we need to mention our sponsors. Look at the list, Liam.
Where's the list? Oh, shit, it's me. I got to do the ad copy. Well, we got a sponsorship from Sellerman's. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And who else? Can you remember?
From the Flint Institute of Art.
Yeah.
And projectorscreen.com.
Wow.
And then it was Defense Lessons?
Yeah, Matador Martial Arts.
Matador Martial Arts.
Yeah. You're doing damn good there, son.
Yeah.
You're a good kid.
I've been told that. I don't believe it.
You're going to get an allowance this
You're
week.
going to get, ooh.
I'm going to give you an allowance.
That's right. He's going to get an allowance today here on Real Crime.
It involves a belt.
That's after the show. We
That's
about
right.
it after
the flogging
show.
happens later.
Yeah, that's that's how we celebrate.
Yeah.
A great podcast.
So, in news this week, Stranger Things was huge over the 4th of July holiday. It had the largest audience that Netflix has ever had. 40.7 million people have started watching the show, and over 18 million subscriptions have actually already binge watched the entire thing.
That's true.
Wow.
I saw something like it was like 13% of people who canceled their Netflix went back to watch Stranger Things.
Yep. A large number went back
Wow.
for that, which is pretty damn cool.
Yeah. It was worth it. I really enjoyed season 3.
I think it is, as I wrote in my review, we do have a review up of it right now. I thought it was much better connected to the first season.
Yeah, I felt like a lot of season 2 just kind of felt all over the place. This felt like a true sequel.
Well, I think the one-off episode in season 2 really threw people off. I enjoyed that myself.
Yeah, it was threw the momentum off for me.
Mara, what about you? Have you been watching or no?
No, I'm sorry. I gotta be one of these jerks, and I don't like Stranger Things. I watched most of the first season. I think I stopped like 2 or 3 from the end because I was like, wow, I really hate everyone in this show, and I don't care about them.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna. I was like rage watching it, and then I just, I like myself too much to feel that way. So.
Yeah, but that's okay. That's okay.
Totally fine.
Not everybody is going to like everything.
Yeah.
No, I know. And it's like one of those like just big things that everyone talks about. And I'm like, yeah, I keep my mouth shut because it's like, I'm not going to nag on your stuff. I get it. There's a bunch of stuff I like that other people don't.
Yeah. Did you get to see the Danzig movie yet or no?
No.
We got to figure that out.
Yeah.
Danzig, please.
Yeah.
Danzig, let us watch your
Danzig.
strange movie.
If you're listening, GD, we need you in Detroit.
Yeah.
Please.
So in other news, Akira is officially getting a 4K Blu-ray release. I believe it's in the fall. So people are a little bit excited about that. And then really not much other news this week. I did pick up on this a little bit before you guys got here. IMDb has actually revealed that it's releasing its first scripted series.
Oh.
Wow.
Which is strange.
They have their own streaming service?
I don't know exactly how they're doing it or if it's going to be on the website. But they're releasing a show called You're Not a Monster.
Huh.
I don't know what it's about. I don't know details. I don't know anything.
Aren't they connected with Amazon?
Yes, they are. They're owned by Amazon.
Oh.
That's why everything is linked to Amazon.
Yeah, that's strange.
Yeah.
It's good that we.
Ooh, it's strange.
Yeah. Ooh. I was gonna ask about the Little Mermaid stuff, but
Go ahead.
yeah. What is your take on Little Mermaid?
I think that in the original story, the Little Mermaid was of Caribbean descent.
Yeah.
And I'm totally fine with whatever Disney wants to do.
Mm-hmm.
I've enjoyed some of the things they've been doing, translating their animated films to live action, and I don't really see what's wrong with it. You know, we live in a newer, more culturally aware time, and I think that, like, the Mulan thing,
Yeah,
looks awesome.
It looks amazing. I'm really excited for the new Mulan. I loved that as a kid, so just to see a different take on that story, because the real Mulan is fascinating.
Right?
Yeah, I was just
Well, I have to say that as a redhead, young girl who liked that movie, it's like that's what I want to see, but I don't care that much.
Yeah.
It's like they're not taking away that Little Mermaid. Like I can still watch that if I want, and it doesn't matter. I mean,
It's like
I think Liam, you said this on Facebook. Like everyone's not gonna care in 2 months. No one cares about the Disney movies anyway. So it's almost like they know that, and so they want to like cause this controversy.
yeah.
What on the wrong?
You okay?
I'll survive. This happened to me earlier too. Sucks. But yes, I agree with you. It's all this rage that everybody has about total BS.
Yeah.
Let it go. It's the Little Mermaid.
Yeah.
Like, seriously, there's far greater things for all of us to worry right
I
now.
know.
Like homelessness, Trump destroying
Poverty.
the world, global warming.
I don't know. I got to angrily tweet about a children's remake.
Yeah.
I'm a little mad they didn't cast Sling Blade in it. Other than that, they ignored my pitch. I was all in on it until they turned me down.
I want Billy Bob Thornton
I
to
want
play.
Billy Bob to play Triton.
Yeah. Or Ariel.
Yeah, why don't they?
Under the sea.
Under the sea.
Under the sea.
Oh, man.
You should play Sebastian the Crab. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're a bastard.
I am.
So, in new releases this week, we've got Crawl, the movie about the alligator.
It looks pretty cool.
It's getting really good early reviews, so we've got that. Then we've got Stuber, which is a comedy that's coming out, and it's actually produced by Disney. It's one of their first R-rated movies in like the last 10 or 15 years, which is kind of crazy.
Wow.
And then, of course, there is The Cure 40th anniversary in Hyde Park concert that's being released this week,
Nice.
which I'm pretty interested in seeing that.
Yeah.
So, suggested viewings. Why don't we start with you this time?
Oh man, fuck. Well, my suggested viewing this week, I was gonna, as a joke, say like the girl who sold her bathwater and then the guy vaped it, but you should never watch that. You should never watch that video.
Oh, that's funny.
It's real and it's horrifying. But my suggested viewing this week, because of watched a lot of rock and roll biopics, is Walk Hard: The Dewey Cox Story. I think it's a pitch perfect satire of the rags to riches story, and I think John C. Reilly is not only funny in it, he has a beautiful singing voice.
Yeah. And he's super talented.
He's just wonderful.
My suggested viewing is the most latest season of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. They just put it on Hulu. And I mean, if you haven't watched that show from front to now, then I definitely suggest that. But the new season just came out, and I think I'm like 3 or 4 episodes in, and it's still just as hilarious. They haven't lost it. They have not lost it.
It's so good.
And they kind of went around not having Dennis, I can't remember, Glenn Howerton there.
Yeah.
And, I was really nervous about how they were going to do it because he's great and I just love him. But so far, they've done really good.
Yeah, I really like this last season, and the last episode in particular is really interesting.
Yeah.
I can't wait. I know it's going to be good. They're all just fabulous comedic actors. The writing is just some of the best satire ever. Ever.
I have only seen the first couple seasons, so I need to get back into it.
Yeah, if you liked those,
Yeah.
I mean, it just continues with that.
I just have a hard time with TV in general.
Yeah, I hear you on that.
I need to get back into TV a little bit more.
I have a hard time with TV shows, and I think like that show, and there's like very few other ones that like I'll really get into, but they're very few and far between. And most of them are like more comedy shows.
And see, that's the other thing I have a hard time with is comedy, because I don't ever feel normal like watching it by myself. I always feel like there should be somebody else there with me enjoying it. Yeah. But yeah, TV and me, for some reason, I start watching stuff and then I can't get through it. Like I'll watch like 5 episodes and then like I'll forget about it.
Yeah, I did. That's like almost what I did with Stranger Things, even though I didn't like the characters. But I did that with Sabrina too. Like I was like, okay, I like it, but I might go back to it. I might go back to Stranger Things too. I don't know.
I liked Sabrina a lot, actually. Like it was interesting for I liked that run in the comics.
I loved that.
So it was so much fun.
Loved it. That was like some of my favorites.
And Riverdale's the guilty pleasure of mine.
I gotta start that.
And see, I started watching Riverdale and I never finished it.
Yeah.
I never finished it, and I need to do that.
Yeah.
So my suggested viewing is, of course, going to be Stranger Things season 3. I adored it. I literally adored it. I didn't like what they did with Hopper this time for the first few episodes, but I think as it tapered off and got towards the end, I kind of started to get where he was at.
Yeah, it was a weird transition. I think if they had a little more time addressing that, because it felt kind of like you feel that year gap between, like the 2-year gap between when they release seasons. Because then you're like, that was something that happened like 2 years ago. I don't remember ever. I don't remember things that happened to me last week.
Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah.
Especially this month.
I have the born identity condition.
You have no identity?
I have no You could just throw me on the street. It'd just be like, you're part of a secret military project. I'll probably believe you. Yeah, sure.
I am.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, that's all good.
Yeah, sure.
I'm a highly trained assassin.
You're a highly trained assassin. I'm the most deadly man alive.
Yep. Well, you are. We all know that by now.
Yeah.
But I strongly suggest catching up on that show. I love those kids. They're just a lot of good this season. So all in all, that's my suggested viewing for this week. So we didn't extend this portion out to 37 minutes this time.
Yeah.
So we can actually get into our topic.
Yeah.
So a few months ago, we kind of talked about rock and roll movies, but now we're going to really talk about biopics.
Yeah.
True life stories in what some of the best ones are.
And some of the worst.
Yeah, because there are some pretty bad ones out there. We won't get into that really bad one yet, though.
Yeah, we got to save. You have to, savor your anger.
Yes.
I think that's a good way to go through life. Is just let it build until, that's like the Irish way, where you just let it build until you eventually die.
So does this mean you're about to die, then?
Maybe another terrible biopic will be the one that does me in. I don't know yet.
I have the Italian anger, so I'm just constantly screaming and swearing and threatening violence in creative ways.
As you should.
Yeah.
And throwing stuff, too. I like to do that.
Yeah.
I think some of the best biopics. I can't talk today again.
It's
What's
hard.
wrong
It's a
with
hard
me?
word to say. Biopic.
Biopic.
Biopic? Maybe that's better.
Do some ASMR on it. Hey guys.
I think it can actually go either way, right?
We're gonna talk about some sweet music movies today.
We're gonna whisper the whole time.
It's really creepy.
It's gonna be like ASMR.
Those are so creepy.
Yeah, they really are.
It's like if you heard that, like people find that relaxing. That just gives me chills. Like someone's gonna stab me to death.
Yeah,
that's relaxing to some people, feeling like they're constantly on the verge of death.
There's some really freaky ASMR out there too.
There's a girl who ate like a stick of deodorant.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she did it for ASMR. It's like who wants?
Did she
to
die?
do that? No, she lived, but she recorded it, and she's
I don't
like,
think it'll kill you, but it's very nasty.
It was like the most. It was like, you know when like zombies eat a person. That's what it sounded like. It was the most. It's the most horrifying thing.
It's we can use for like Foley.
Yeah, we can use that. We should add that. Like, you should get drops for the show and then just have that. Just have that in there.
I do want to start getting some drops for the show. That's something that I'm going to work on.
Yeah.
Deodorant eating.
Deodorant eating.
Deodorant eating.
Popcorn. Slobbering popcorn.
Slobbering. Phrasing.
Yep. Del Taco. Del Taco splatter farts. Never again.
Never again.
Never.
You sound like a man who went to war.
Your
body went to war.
Yeah. You know, I used to eat Del Taco all the time, and it was fine. Mm-hmm. And I used to enjoy, like, my band would play a show, and I'd be like, oh, I'm going to get Del Taco on the way home.
Yeah.
Be totally fine. Oh, no. Like, a few months ago, it turned on me. And I was just like, we're driving home yesterday. I'm like, let's just get something to eat really quick. Let's just go to Del Taco on Hoover. Oh, no. Never again.
It sticks with you a few days too with Del Taco.
Yeah, I was like in bed like at like 2:30 yesterday. Like, I'm going to bed. Alicia's like, are you okay? Like, hospital, you know, food poisoning? What's going on? I'm like, I think it's just the Del Taco shits.
Yeah.
You'll forget about it. Well, you're recording it now, so maybe.
Yeah,
you won't,
this is a.
You'll forget about it. Like,
no. This is good record keeping, and literally like just. Like, I remember I got food poisoning from Jet's Pizza one time, and it took me like 4 years to go back there and ever eat it again. Yeah. That's where I'm at with the Del Taco now.
You have to, like, write a note, like, be like the Memento guy where you have it tattooed on yourself.
Del Taco with like
Del Taco.
In the no thing.
Yeah.
And every time I go in there, I'll have to rip my shirt off.
You have to rip your shirt off.
No, Del Taco.
You got to flex.
Actually, I'll probably have to write it backwards so you can see it in the mirror.
Hey, wake up. How did I get this tattoo?
It's terrible. Never again, Del Taco. I'm turning down anything you offer me as far as a sponsorship goes.
Yeah.
We don't.
Del Taco is canceled.
It's delicious. It's not for me. I love it. I'll still eat it.
Del Taco is canceled.
Del Taco is
canceled,
one of the only. Sis.
Yeah.
Go off, King.
So, biopics. Biopics.
Yes.
There's a lot of really, really good ones out there. The first one I'm going to mention here is obviously Rocket Man. Yes. We kind of discussed this in private last week. If I could recommend one of these movies, this would be the one that I would probably recognize like as one of the best ones ever. Yeah. It didn't do very well at the box office, but I thought Taron Egerton's performance as Elton John was absolutely astounding. He sang all the songs in the movie. And yes, they let you know going into this, it's a rock and roll fantasy. It's not all real life, but the way they offered up a tight-knit story about Elton John's life, and they used the music to basically translate everything to the screen and kind of let you know, about his emotions and his sexuality and everything. It's all in there within the music and within the performances. It's a great film.
I think it's really interesting that in the year 2019, we're now getting to the point where we can have like full-on musical rock operas that are about like addiction and someone's sexuality in a wide release movie. That's amazing. What I really appreciated about Rocket Man was that it felt honest. Yes, it's a musical fantasy. Yes, there's a moment where he literally turns into a rocket and shoots in the air. But it's at its core is a story of a guy who struggles with his own identity and he struggles with addiction. And I found that to be really moving. I cried a lot watching this movie. And Taron Egerton singing, I mean, my God, that kid has a set of pipes. Just beautiful. And yeah, I highly recommend it, especially if you want to cry your eyes out. Yeah.
Well, I want to see it. I wanted to, but now I really do.
I think you'll really enjoy it.
Yeah.
The costume design is so spot on, and the stage design and the live performances are so like just realistic in this. It's great. Absolutely great. But again, he actually sings the songs in the movie, so that makes it even more realistic.
Yeah.
But yeah, the backstory to this, it's super tight. You get a feel of who he was as a little boy when he first started learning to play piano. And, his mom was just kind of a lunatic.
Yeah.
But you can see where it all came from.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if this is even still in theaters.
I hope that when it's out on digital, more people go watch it, because it's a truly wonderful film that it was probably a victim of the time it was released. It was released in May. Maybe they should have promoted it more during Pride.
Yeah.
Or they should have waited closer to
awards.
Award season.
Yeah.
Taron Egerton's great in this. Jamie Bell, who plays Bernie Taupin, is fantastic.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh. When he Richard Madden, who plays his agent, is, man, there's some good stuff in there.
There's really nothing bad that I can say about this movie.
Mm-hmm.
So just out of curiosity, what portion of his career does it cover? Like up until
It
present,
covers
or?
No, it covers from when he's a child to the release of I'm Still Standing,
Oh, cool.
which is like 83, 84,
83. Yeah, 83.
which kind of was almost the height. Like he had other hits after that, but that was the big pop hit.
That was
for
kind of
Elton John.
when, at that point, now he's kind of a living legend after that.
Yes.
So he was,
But and they do the video in the movie.
It is.
I remember that.
And they
video. Yeah,
replace
it's cool.
him. They replace Elton John with Taron Egerton with
Yeah.
the actual footage from the video.
Oh, really?
It's really, really cool.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sound design is amazing. Set design is amazing.
Just
Costumes.
the staging too. Like
Yeah.
for it, this is like the first musical I've seen in a while where it actually like is really well choreographed and doesn't look like they learned it like 10 minutes before they shot.
Yes.
Especially the Saturday Night's All Right for Fighting. That whole sequence was like, okay, so this movie's good. We're
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
All right, Mara.
The best one, in my opinion, is The Runaways. That's because, mainly because that's one of my favorite bands. I read the book it was based on, so when it came out, I was so excited to see it. And, pretty much I think the best thing about the movie are the performances. Joan Jett, what's her name there? Kristen Stewart.
Yeah.
She was so much like her. Talk about, like, just her body movements, the way she talked, just the way she carried herself. And I guess she had like worked one-on-one with her, and you can just tell she picked her up. Like, she got it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And-
That's one of my favorite performances of hers.
Yeah, and like I've never seen anything else with her in it. I haven't sat down and watched any of the Twilight films. I've seen bits and pieces, and I get an idea of like how she is, and I hear all the bad talk about how horrible she is, and I'm like, well, she must have been a crap character, because she does an amazing job as Joan Jett. Amazing.
Well, and I think that's with a lot of actors and actresses. You'll hear, oh, they're a crap person. They're not a nice person. They're not this. They're not that. They don't really have to be a nice person.
No.
And
Yeah.
a lot of these people that are great actors, they have, as we've seen, like take Kevin Spacey,
Yeah.
massive character flaws.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what makes them such good actors.
Yeah.
And if you're going to put yourself in a role, sometimes there has to be a little switch.
There has to be a
You're
disconnect.
right. To be able to like get that so well and pretend to be it and be convincing. You know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the greatest actors ever have been a little bit
Yeah.
off.
Yeah.
I think she gets, and same with Pattinson, where she gets the backlash because like
Twilight.
people saw those movies and then haven't seen the stuff that they did for the past like 5 years, where they've been doing it, like toiling away in these indies, doing it. I say toiling as if it's not like they're doing good work that's
Right.
satisfying, but
Right.
it's stuff that people probably haven't seen.
Yeah.
And I think if people saw those, it wouldn't nearly be as like critical.
Right.
People aren't willing to do that legwork, though.
Yeah.
They would rather bitch on Facebook or Twitter or wherever
Yeah.
about, oh, well, he sucked in Twilight. Well, you know what? Twilight, honestly, as bad as they were, it got them somewhere.
It did.
Yeah.
It got them from point A to point B. You wouldn't really know who Kristen Stewart is unless she did those movies.
Oh,
She'd
Dakota
just be the
Fanning.
girl. She'd just be the girl from Zathura.
Right.
Dakota Fanning was in Twilight too. I forgot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she, I mean, I don't think no one really had ever denied that she was a great actress.
Yeah.
But she does, I mean, the choreography in this, she does the stage moves for Cherry Bomb exactly like Cherie Curry. And, you know, same thing. Cherie Curry wrote the book that the movie's based on. So, you know, she was there every step of the way being like, this is how you do this move and, you know, showing her and everything. And she got it. And they sang too, which, you know, Dakota Fanning, I mean, she's not awesome, but she did it. She carried it off. And, you know, I appreciate that because it is, like you said, Liam, it's more realistic. When they have these people doing these impressions of, like, these iconic rock stars, and then all of a sudden they're lip syncing to the album version, you're like, okay, now I'm watching a movie and I'm watching someone pretend. But when they sing it themselves and they're doing the performance, it's all part of it. So you buy it. Mm-hmm. It's interesting how that works.
There was a biopic they did. It was made for British TV that was about INXS. I've always been a huge fan of INXS. They're one of my favorite bands of all time. I will tell anybody that. Everybody knows that about me. They did a biopic on British television, basically about INXS and Michael Hutchence. Mm-hmm. And the casting was really off, but it was that. They still kind of did a decent job playing the roles, but then when it came to the stage performances, it was all lip syncing and nobody knew how to play their instruments and things weren't timed correctly. That takes you totally out.
You notice that.
Well, because you go, oh, wow, they nailed it in one take, and it sounds exactly like the studio recording.
Yeah.
Wow.
Great
I
job,
didn't
guys.
know that. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And every time that happens in a movie, you just go, oh, really?
It takes you out of it. You want to forget that you're watching a movie and not be cognizant of the fact that there's cameras set up and people are in costume and you don't want to think about that, but you do when they do that. Yeah. But
I will agree with you on The Runaways. That movie gets that down and dirty 70s, early 80s kind of grimy, nasty feel of them coming up.
And it's a grimy, nasty story, too. Way more than they even say in that movie. There's a lot that they don't talk about that I kind of wish they would have.
Yeah.
But I think they wanted young girls to watch it. Mm-hmm. But I still think, knowing that, they still should have put that nasty, grimy stuff in because it was young girls that it happened to. So
yeah.
And there's a lesson to be learned.
Yeah, there really is.
Yeah, I think that movie come out like now, that nasty, grimy stuff would be in there.
You're probably right.
I think because now we're at least acknowledging that there's a problem.
Yeah.
With that, that level of misconduct and the kind of stuff that Michael Shannon's character, I cannot remember the name of
Kim Fowley.
Kim Fowley did to these girls.
Yeah, he was nasty. Oh.
And I think that's something that more of these movies should reckon with. I don't think it'll happen because the bands and the singers and the people and the agents are probably the ones who are producing them. So you're never going to have a 100% warts and all biopic. Mm-hmm.
But Michael
Shannon's fucking fantastic.
He's amazing in it. And they asked Kim Fowley, I saw this YouTube clip of him, and they said, "You see the Runaways movie?" He was like, "Yeah." And they're like, "What'd you think?" And he's like, "I loved it." And they said, "What did you think of Michael Shannon's portrayal of you?" And he was like, "Spot on. Perfect." And I'm like, wow, he has no shame.
Yeah.
He's got no shame because they do not portray him favorably at all.
No, he's a total scumbag.
Yeah.
He is the typical rock and roll agent scumbag taking advantage of anybody and anything he can.
Absolutely.
In any hole he can.
Nasty.
It's
not to be gross. But
no, that's not gross. That's just being honest.
Yeah.
I think so many of these conversations we have about the biopics and the events of that era are rose tinted kind of nostalgia trips where they're like, oh man, we all got along, we all had a great time. No, there was fucked up shit happening.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's one of the cons I think of the Runaways is that it does have a little bit of that. But as a fan and as someone who read the Neon Angels and knew the history of the people in the band, I knew that when Cherie Curry wrote that book that she was not on good terms with anyone in the band. And by the time they made the movie, her and Joan Jett made up and were able to reconcile a lot of stuff. and a lot of the movie ends up being about their relationship. And I enjoy that as a fan, like being able to see them reconnect and do that. But it is kind of not that true. It kind of does paint it with the rose-colored glasses, and they also were like not getting along with Lita Ford at the time, so she's really portrayed really horribly. And like after that movie came out, they ended up making up with her, and Cherie Currie did like albums with her, and they performed Runaway songs on stage at Lita Ford shows and everything. So it's just kind of sad that like she didn't get on that movie too.
That we didn't get to hear her side of the story.
Yeah.
I wonder why they did that, because like everything you ever see with Lita Ford, she seems like the most like well collected, nice, talented. Like she's a great singer, and she's a phenomenal guitar player too. Yeah. It's just weird that they would kind of do that to her.
Yeah, because that's what it was. It was Cherie Currie and Joan Jett's thing, and they weren't talking to her. I mean, it's sad, and it is what it is. But Lita Ford's my favorite member of the band.
Yeah,
I think she's. I don't want to say she's the most talented, but I don't know. She kind of is. She's like my favorite. I like Cherie Currie too, though. I really like her voice. So
I think Joan Jett, like, really, I still love her to this day.
Yeah.
Like she basically, and I know she's done stuff with them, but to me, she's kind of like the '80s Dave Grohl.
Yeah, like, I know what you mean by that. Yeah. Her and Dave Grohl got together and did some stuff.
Yeah,
so.
they've done music together now too, but. She was kind of like Grohl, like, I'm just going to do what I want.
Yeah.
It's going to be rock and roll, and you're going to like it or you're not going to like it.
Yeah.
And she's done it for 40 years now.
Yeah.
And she never stops. Mm-hmm. She's just like this one-woman wrecking crew with her backing band.
Yeah.
And she just does what she wants. She doesn't care if the stuff sells anymore. Yeah. Like, I'm just going to go on tour, and people are going to show, and I'm going to do my thing.
Well, now she has her production company, the Black Hearts Productions, and she produced L7's new record.
Which is sweet.
Yeah, and she produced Cherie Currie's new solo record that just came out for Record Store Day. So,
that's pretty sweet.
I know. So she's I mean, it's cool that she's like giving back to other people now.
Yeah.
The thing with L7's really cool. They were supposed to have a crowdfunded album, and they got scammed, and they didn't get that money. And so, like, Joan Jett kind of like helped them out. And
it's kind of shocking they don't have a record deal anymore.
I know, right? It's kind of it's sad because they're.
It's the industry now. Mm-hmm. It's the industry.
It's how it is. It's hard.
Yeah. Not even to like defend Morrissey because I know he's such a dick.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, he's an icon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's a dick and an icon.
Mm-hmm.
But he has a dick con. He has like no real record deal.
Yeah.
You know, it's all independent for him now too.
Mm-hmm.
So all these, you know, people from the 80s and 90s, they don't have those multi-million-dollar contracts like they had before.
Right.
So, Liam.
All right, so this is a biopic I saw relatively recently. It's Love and Mercy, and it's the story of Brian Wilson. And I found it to be one of the more moving movies I've seen in a while. I was kind of worried because it's a Beach Boys movie, and I was worried it was going to be like, here's the fun surf rock. No, it's not a fun movie. It's a movie about a man who's having an active mental breakdown. It's told in two eras. The first era is the Pet Sounds era, and he's played by Paul Dano, who plays the version of the breakdown so heartbreakingly that you just want to hug this guy. You just want to tell him, hey man, it's all right. People will like the album. It's okay. Just stop, dude. And then you have John Cusack, who is the older Brian Wilson, who is this kind of drugged out husk of a person.
Yes.
His doctor, who's played by Paul Giamatti, who's almost always in biopics, is the asshole.
Of course.
It's always Paul Giamatti. Like in Private Parts, in Straight Outta Compton.
Yep.
It's always, if you cast Paul Giamatti in your movie, he's always going to play an asshole.
Yes.
And he plays a really fucking horrible person in Love and Mercy. Like, basically holding this man hostage, like day in, day out. And it's an interesting way they weave those two timelines together. It's not what I expect a Beach Boys biopic to be. And I think if you love the music, it's good. But if you love a story about, artistry and mental health, I think people will really enjoy Love and Mercy.
And see, like when I first watched this, I really didn't get the split between Paul Dano and John Cusack, but I think realistically it worked very well after thinking about it because it almost represented his personality split. Mm-hmm. Like the shift in the younger Brian Wilson and the older Brian Wilson. Yeah. It was really kind of interesting.
Well, they feel like two different people. You're checking in, like if it was just Paul Dano or if it was just John Cusack, it would feel inauthentic. John Cusack is like too old to play young 20-something Brian Wilson, and Paul Dano is kind of baby-faced.
Yes, he is.
He can't really like play the Brian Wilson that they need him to play.
Be the Brian Wilson we need right now.
Yeah, we need you to, Paul, we need you to go method and have an active mental breakdown. And what I found about it was that it was really sympathetic and really kind. And Paul Dano also sings the music in the film, which is another recurring theme tonight, is that the better ones are the ones where the actors actually try to perform the songs and sound like the singers. And there's moments in this movie where Paul Dano sounds like Brian Wilson, where you can't really tell the two apart. And I just, I loved it. I cried my eyes out. It was great.
You and you're crying all the time.
Yeah, man, I feel
I'm going to send you a box of those tissues I own stocking.
Send me some. 'Cause not only for after the show.
The postage won't be very much.
Yeah. You send too many tissues, dude.
I know.
You sent me exactly 69 tissues. You hand counted them, too. That's the fucked up part.
And then hand folded them.
You hand folded them, and there was weird letters like the Zodiac Killer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love Zodiac, though. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just because I want to be extra creepy.
Yeah, it just said, I'm the third revelation. Hey, Liam, what's up? Yeah. When's the next article? I am the third revelation.
And then it says, I like killing people.
Yeah.
Hunting people is the greatest game.
It's on, like, Pig's Blood, too. That's really fucked up.
Yeah, dude, I know.
That's really fucked up.
My mom told me to stop, and I'm like, sorry, I can't.
Using the money on the site to fund your weird messaging service.
Wait, money? What money?
Yeah.
Is there money? Nobody told me about the money.
That's true.
You broke your microphone.
I broke my mic.
It'll be fine.
Okay.
I think you're okay.
All right. I don't want to have to deep throat this mic.
No comment. So moving on, for me, there's a lot of really general ones I could bring up, but I think one of the better ones of the last decade is Control, which is about Ian Curtis from Joy Division.
Oh, yeah.
This movie is really cool because the performances are dead nuts. Everybody in the movie looks their part, like exactly. And the guy that plays Ian Curtis in the movie looks just like him. He's the same height, same stature, and does all the weird, like, epileptic dancing. And the entire movie is black and white, too. So you get that old European feel to it. I'm a huge fan of Joy Division, and his story is so sad, and this movie translates like the brilliance of the music and the character he put into the vocals and everything really well. And just the story. I mean, he killed himself, before he was like 30 years old. Yeah. And all of that's in the movie. It's just a really good take on the musical being creative. Mm-hmm. And the movie talks about, he's just working in an office job, but he really wants to be doing music. It's that whole thing that creatives feel like, I don't belong here stuck in this box. I should be out creating, and he was really held down by that. And the movie just portrays that perfectly. So if you guys get a chance, see it. I don't know if either of you guys like Joy Division at all.
I like Joy Division.
I'm like kind of a few songs here and there.
Yeah. Their catalog is really cool. They were very creative for the time, kind of groundbreaking, and very, very art. Everything was very artistic.
Yeah.
So Control, yes, see it. All right, next one.
Let me look at my list here. I wrote down a couple. Drawn a blank. Okay. I went back and forth on whether or not I should mention it because it's not exactly rock, but I'm going to go with it because I think that maybe it's a precursor to rock, but it's a music biopic anyway, and it's the Glenn Miller story with James Stewart.
Yeah.
And I decided it goes along with rock because one of the things in the movie that I thought was interesting when I saw it, because I didn't know, is that and I watched this because I love Jimmy Stewart, so I was like, any Jimmy Stewart movie, I'm watch it, and it was on Netflix, and I was like, all right. But a lot of he got a lot of flack at the time because his music was a little more like raucous, I guess, than some other things that were going on.
Like way more upbeat.
Yeah, and he was like, people had like the rock and roll attitude about him back then, and I thought that was really interesting. But the thing about the story that I really like is the love story about him and his wife, and talk about crying. I don't know if either but he ended up getting lost during World War II in a plane. Yeah, he was on his way to a performance, and he never was found. He probably got shot down. No one knows. But he never showed up.
Yeah, because it says died over the English Channel in
Yeah.
December 44.
Yeah. And it's so sad because his wife's like listening, wants to hear the concert, and he never shows up. And the little inside joke that they had was like her favorite song was Little Brown Jug. And he was like, "Oh, that's horrible! I can't believe I'm marrying someone who has such a bad taste in music." You tease her about it, and I don't know if this is true, but this was a great movie moment. He never shows up, but they were like, "We're gonna have the show's gonna go on anyway, the way he wanted it." And the first song was Little Brown Jug, for her, and I just started crying.
Yeah, that's kind of.
That would get me too.
Yeah,
I got chills. I was like, oh.
Yeah, I know. It's a very Jimmy Stewart is just great, and I can't think of the woman who plays his wife now, but
it was June Allison.
There you go. They had great chemistry. I think any woman had great chemistry with Jimmy Stewart. He just plays Glenn Miller as just like this passionate man, and it's a great movie.
I have not. I think I've only ever seen this one time.
Yeah,
I have not seen it. I love Jimmy Stewart too. So
yeah, it's a good Jimmy Stewart role, and I even have the soundtrack. It's on 45s.
I don't think Jimmy Stewart ever had a bad role, did he?
Mr. Hobbs Takes a Vacation, maybe, but
okay.
I liked that movie. Some people might think it's kind of on his low end.
Yeah.
But.
I can't say anything bad about Jimmy Stewart.
Talking my roles. Talk shit, get hit, Clarence.
Oh, poor Clarence.
Yeah, that's what happens. You talk shit, you get hit.
Yeah, sorry, buddy.
Street rules.
Yeah. All right, Liam, give us another one.
All right. I was thinking about it, was the Buddy Holly story with Gary Busey.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of those movies that, for me, I know Gary Busey as like the raving crazy dude.
Yes.
Like the guy like Predator 2 and Lethal Weapon. So to see this movie was just kind of like just a revelation. And he really captures Buddy Holly's presence, and it's such an interesting story. The tragedy of what happened to Buddy Holly and how he was like really the precursor to all the mainstream rock that came from him. Was just, I really enjoyed that movie. I think he's great in it, and man, fucking A. That's such a sad way to go. He died so young.
I know, so much potential too. Like,
it was him, the Big Bopper, and Richie Valens.
Yeah,
the day the music died.
Yeah. They should make a song about that.
Oh, I can write it. Everybody forgets. We have an idea for a movie. Everybody forgets that song ever existed.
That's a biopic trope in there right there.
Yeah. I'll have Danny Boyle direct it. And we'll just call it The Day the Music Died. Yesterday Part 2.
That's such a biopic moment, though. They always have that scene where they're like struggling like in front of the piano.
Yeah.
They're like strumming a guitar. It's like,
a magical moment.
My Miss American pie.
Yeah.
And then hard cut to the studio recording, and he's just jamming out.
And then hard cut to concert
concert records. Wow, the hottest single in all of America, American Pie, is lighting
With
up those
women
radio
with the cone-
charts. And
the
they have
cone
yeah, and
bras
they're
on
like,
at the concert,
oh my God,
crying.
Don McLean, I love you.
That's the only good song you ever wrote, but we love you anyways.
What other songs did he write?
I don't know.
Yeah,
Like none.
he just peeked and was like,
Hey, I wrote.
yeah, they're gonna
mom
make
did.
this song into a teen sex comedy.
Yes.
My mom had a greatest hits, but I don't think she ever listened to any other song.
Yeah, because it was an album that had one song on it. It
It was
was.
just American Pie like 12
It
times.
said
I love
greatest
that.
hit.
His biopic would just be a scene of that, and then just him like kind of hanging out at his house.
He's like,
Like,
Getting old.
I'm really
like-
sad.
what do you think about this song? It's American Pie, and then parentheses again.
He probably has like some huge fan base,
Oh,
and
he
like
probably
tons
does.
of albums
They're gonna
were
be
offending
sick.
them all.
Yeah, they're gonna be so offended. Please send your emails to I will not read these emails at gmail.com. That is a real email. I will not read these emails. Please don't send them at gmail.com.
Maybe I
This is
could
a real
write a
domain I bought.
sequel. Hit American Pie. Now let's. English Tea. That's my next song.
English tea.
Yes.
He's like, well, I can't write any songs. I guess it's time to write a teen sex comedy.
Yeah.
He couldn't think of a title, so he's like, what do I call this? Oh, fuck! American Pie. I hit gold again! Do you think Jason Biggs really fucked the pie in that movie?
Probably.
He probably is a method
Because he was like,
actor.
after this, I'm not going to have much of a career, so
He-
why don't I just do it with the pie?
I heard the reason that they didn't make more sequels, is because he's too much of a method actor, and he can't stop fucking pies.
Is that why they got him out of Orange is the New Black?
That's
too?
true. He literally, it was uncontrollable on set. He just sees a pie. He just pulls it.
Yeah, he's like,
Yeah.
game on.
You know-
He got canceled.
I thought that was weird because they had that whole segment, that whole like storyline about him coming, and I was like, really, I have to think about this again with him?
Like literally,
Yeah.
no one
Like,
in the
what?
world doesn't associate him with coming.
No.
I know, that's just like, imagine if that was you.
Man, that guy's whole career is just people just knowing what you look like when you crave
Yeah.
your jeans.
The pie, the dad walking in on
Yeah.
him. It's just,
Yeah.
yeah.
He ruined himself.
Yeah.
He ruined himself, and he ruined that pie.
Yeah, he did. That's the worst too.
That was a
Disrespectful to his
fine-
mom, to be honest.
But-
fine piece of
You know
I'm
what I
serious
heard?
about that. I hate that.
That pie did have an orgasm.
Oh yeah,
So-
that's cool. The pie consented, so it was okay.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
The pie was cool with it. It's like, yeah, you could call me anytime you want, Jason. I'm down.
wow! It's a masculine pie. I
It's
didn't know
yeah.
that.
It's a
That's
pie
a
with
shocker.
It tried to do.
He gave the
shocker.
pie the shocker.
He tried to do the shocker. I was so close.
Of course, I
So
had to use
close.
that.
Okay.
What were we talking about?
Anyway, what's the topic?
We,
The Big Bopper.
Jason.
the Big Bopper.
Oh,
Richie
Jason,
Valens.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Jason Biggs' Big Bopper.
Jason Biggs. Okay. All right. So next one. I think we should talk about the bad one now. I think we should touch on Bohemian Rhapsody and why it's so bad.
All right. Do you want me to go open?
I'll start.
Go for it.
You know, most of these movies that we've talked about so far are heavily based in reality, unlike Rocket Man, which is based in reality, but they kind of fantasize a little bit. But I almost feel like Bohemian Rhapsody is more of a fantasy because they changed so much to make it like a pop culture reference on film.
Mm-hmm.
Everything had to be happy. There's nothing. Yeah, obviously him getting HIV and then AIDS, that's all sad. But the way they portray Freddie in kind of a negative light, and the way they altered the story, we have to play Live Aid because Freddie's dying.
Because Freddie has AIDS.
And, we got to get the band back together to play Live Aid. Band never broke up, number one. Freddie didn't have AIDS at the time they played Live Aid. They didn't even know that this was going on with him at that point.
It was almost 2 years after that happened, before he even was diagnosed with HIV.
Yes.
The other thing about the movie is that it kind of slut shames Freddie Mercury. It kind of slut shames and it kind of straight washes him. We see a moment where he kisses his girlfriend, but apparently the way you get HIV, according to Bohemian Rhapsody, is if you look at another man.
Uh-oh.
It's the truth.
Wow.
Literally, it's shown in a glimpse. And that's so insulting to Freddie Mercury, who is this icon because he was fantastically gay. That's who he was.
And it's fine.
And that's fine. But, I can see what it was. I can see the studio thought process going, well, the Chinese and the Russians don't like gay stuff in their movies, so let's cut it out. And they had to cut out even the minimal gay stuff they had in this movie. So they're like, oh, we did an alternate cut of it in China. We took out all the gay stuff. I was like, what, all 8 seconds?
It actually
cut out a glimpse.
It angers me, to be honest, because I am a huge Queen fan, and I've always loved Queen ever since I was a kid. And I had multiple Queen fans like, oh, I love that movie because it was such a great story and blah, blah. Okay, the musical performances are great. The inclusion of so many great songs, awesome. There is some good in the film, but it just left a dirty taste in my mouth because I'm watching it going like, oh, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong. And I hate even more the fact that Brian May and what's the drummer? I can't remember his name right now. Roger Taylor.
Yeah.
They were on set manipulating the film to make it what it was instead of a real biopic.
I think the other thing that really deeply, we can talk about Bohemian Rhapsody, oh yeah, it has a great soundtrack, but that doesn't mean it's a movie. You notice
it's
every
a video.
Time it's practically a music video. The only things that people have been like actually, they go, well, Liam, the movie may not be good, but Live Aid, they recreated this whole thing with lip sync. They redid it. You have to admire the hard work that went into it, and that's great. It's nice that they restaged something shot for shot, but if it doesn't have meaning or any purpose, it's just a replica.
Right.
It's just you going, oh, we got Rami Malek in this nice little costume, and you remember this? It doesn't add to the story. It doesn't feel like a triumph. It just feels like an exercise in empty nostalgia.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, you can just go and watch those performances too. So, I mean, I would rather just watch Live Aid.
That's honestly what you can do, and that's what I would say.
YouTube.
That's what I would say is, okay, why do I have to pay $12.50 or whatever tickets cost now, a lot, to go see a 2-hour movie when I can see the best parts of it online that aren't made by the movie?
And I can read a book that tells me the true story.
Yeah.
No one sings in the movie. Rami Malek does not sing. The teeth in the movie look like a bad SNL thing.
They do. That's part of the reason why I haven't seen it, and part of the reason why is every time I see clips, I just can't get over it.
It hurts.
Yeah.
It's every part of this movie is frustrating. The editing is terrible. There's a scene where they are having a conversation with the manager, and there's 67 cuts in a scene where it is literally just people around a table talking.
Yeah, I think Michelle posted that on Facebook, and I watched that, and that was another reason why I was like, I don't think I can watch this. I'll give it a headache.
I was just,
I think you should watch it though, just to now know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm curious, but I'm gonna have to fast forward and have a lot of snacks to keep me into it.
I mean, I think we're kind of
for a bad movie.
We're kind of coming to a good point here where we're kind of realizing what makes a good one and what makes a bad one. Mm-hmm. And I think the good ones are the ones that really dig their heels in and say, no, everything wasn't pretty. Everything wasn't rainbows and ponies and unicorns. Mm-hmm. Bad stuff happens. These people are rock and roll stars, but they're still human beings that go through the same struggles that all of us go through, sometimes even worse, because you throw in that portion of fame that's thrown into the mix, changes everything.
And it's something that not many people could ever relate to.
Exactly. So we know where the good ones come from, but this is, to me, I'd say it's like the worst of the worst.
I mean, another thing that I have a really big issue with, we talked about how it's, relatively straight washed, is that when we're talking about Rocket Man, there's a character in Rocket Man who is also in Bohemian Rhapsody. That manager character, who is also Elton John's lover, is in both movies. And would you know? And it's really like, I don't want to compare these two movies, but they are the exact opposite of each other.
Oh, they are. They are.
In how they get almost like just basic things wrong in Bohemian Rhapsody.
I think one big difference here, though, that I will point out, Elton John's still here.
Yeah.
So Elton John had
a voice.
He had a voice and creative input on this thing, where Freddie, there's nobody around other than maybe, family members.
Yeah.
His estate that's maybe going like, well, we could stick up for him.
Yeah.
Or we can soak
Get
up
Oscars.
the
money,
dollars.
yeah.
Get Oscars and money.
Which, that's a hard choice, really. Especially if they're not like close to him
Right.
while he was alive,
So I just wanted to voice that about Bohemian Rhapsody, because we've never really talked about it much here. And since we're on the topic, I know a lot of people love it. A lot of people tell me I'm an idiot for despising it.
So many people say, I agree with you on things, but your Bohemian Rhapsody take is wrong. And I will tell you, I am adamant. I've tried to watch this movie twice. I tried to watch it again this weekend, and it made me so angry I shut it off.
Yeah.
That's how much of a hair trigger I have for this movie.
I mean, like movies that I dislike, like Aquaman, I didn't like, but I still respect. And I actually bought the Blu-ray for me and my kid to watch because the colors and the huge scope of the movie.
It's a nice looking movie.
Bohemian Rhapsody, I won't purchase this movie. I will not spend another dime on it because it's not even worth like $2.99 on the family video bargain bin.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about it. They should have stuck with the original version with Sacha Baron Cohen, the R-rated version, but those guys were like, oh, no, we can't do an R-rated version.
Wow. Rock epic.
Yeah.
I would love to see that
rated
movie.
R. That's crazy.
That would be a masterpiece.
Yeah. All right. So I'll get off my high horse on hating on this now.
There we go. The hate, I can feel it. It was cathartic.
We let it out.
And I'm not.
We got it out.
And now I'm not closer to death.
Yeah.
So that's great.
We backed you up.
We
I
backed
got
you up.
another year.
Now, I have two that I want to talk about left, and one of them I kind of liked, and the other one, honestly, I thought I liked, and I don't know if I like. So maybe you know what? I'm going to go with the one I think is bad, and this might be a really controversial
That's
opinion.
okay.
The Doors. And this, I don't like it because I think they go way too, like, overboard with who Jim Morrison was.
Yeah.
I don't know if any human being acted like him in that movie. It's like ridiculous.
It's Oliver Stone.
Oliver Stone is a allegedly coked out psychopath. We should say allegedly.
Well, I watched that movie and it's
I can tell you that it's confirmed because somebody I know worked as a production assistant for him. Yes.
Yeah.
He's a madman.
Yeah, well, that's how the movie is made. It's very just like, it starts off and it's, Jim Morrison meets Ray Manzarek, and he's, they really, they dig each other and they start the band, and, you're watching them do it. And then all of a sudden it's like, that just goes into nothing. The movie just meanders, and it's just scene after scene of like, hey, let's do some acid. Let's do this now. And he's treating that girl like shit, that Pam, and she just keeps coming back for more. It's like
that part was real though.
Well,
I had
heard that Pam character is actually multiple women, not just one woman that he treated like shit. And I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I had heard.
Well, he was a terrible womanizer.
Yeah, he was. But and she was the one that was with him last.
Yeah.
And
right.
So, or the longest. Yeah. But it's creepy. It's like right in the beginning of the movie, he's stalking her. Yeah. He follows her. He climbs up a window and he's like, I've been following you. And she's like, me?
Me?
Ooh.
Oh my gosh.
And like gives him and she kisses him. Yeah, I know. And it's like, has anyone been that excited about being stalked? I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it was weird. And then then they're just together.
And it's funny because that scene has like this weird, like color washing to it.
Yeah.
And it kicks into Love Street when he's like doing that whole thing. Love Street's playing in the background. You're kind of weird.
It's
it's like
odd
Oliver Stone.
editing.
You're telling me I'm supposed to like think this is romantic, and I think it's really horrible.
Yeah.
And it was just like, it's really weird. It's a really like misogynistic movie too, because there's just so much male gaze in it for just no reason. They're just like zooming in on ladies, and I'm like, who saw that? Who was looking at her?
See, with The Doors, for me, like that was actually on my list of movies.
Yeah.
But like I enjoy the movie for what it is.
Yeah.
I enjoy the way Oliver Stone portrays. He knows how to get that feel of the 60s and 70s through costume design and cinematography. And like I think everybody in that movie did a fair job.
They did,
But the problem is Oliver Stone always goes JFK. You never go JFK. JFK is a great movie.
Yeah.
But nothing's really true.
Yeah.
Nothing is really like as it seems, and nothing is ever with him like, well, I'm doing a biography movie, but there's going to be a conspiracy in here too.
Yeah, it's weird because you can tell the way things play out. I'm like, that didn't happen. And like, I think the one thing is like, when they were, he saw the commercial with Light My Fire and he throws the TV. It's like, they didn't sell the song. They talked about it, but they didn't.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's a little weird inaccuracy. You know, the way they play that whole scene where he's at the Ed Sullivan show and he's like, get much high, you know, and he like mugs to the camera, and it's like, that is not what he does. I've seen that, and he just sings it like it's normal.
He's just like kind of wandering around.
Yeah, he's just doing his normal Jim Morrison thing.
I love the Jim Morrison way of performing.
Yeah,
I wish
I know.
more people did. He's just like,
He's
just comes
so
out there,
drunk.
just come out there hammered and do it.
Yeah. And I like Doors is another one of my favorite bands. I've loved them since middle school. They were like one of the first bands I like really got into, and I watched that movie in middle school and I was like, oh my God, there's just boobs in this and drugs and oh my God, crazy. Jim Morrison was a bad man, you know, and then I grow up and I'm like, this movie is crazy.
It has not aged well.
No,
it hasn't. I'll still watch it every once in a while because I love the music.
Yeah, and that's Val Kilmer sings some of the songs.
Yes.
And he sounds like Jim Morrison. He sounds pretty good. And then like there are some recordings and it's kind of like blends in, you know. But that is one of the strengths of it, is that he sings it and he does a good job. Kyle MacLachlan's great as Raymond and Zarek. Justin Whaley plays
Robbie Krieger.
Yeah, they're all good.
And then who was Densmore? Oh, it was Dylan.
Yeah, Kevin Dillon plays it.
Yeah.
They all do a good job. I guess it's based on his book.
It is. Riders on the Storm, I believe. Yes.
And I don't think he liked Jim Morrison very much.
No, I think Jim Morrison, you know, you can talk about him all day long. Yeah, he was probably a shitty person.
Probably.
He was an alcoholic and a drug addict and a womanizer and all that. But when you think about rock and roll icons, like he's here.
Yeah.
He is probably in that upper like top 5 echelon of the most iconic rock singers of all time.
Number 1 for me. Yeah. No one tops him for me. The voice.
His voice was pure.
It's voice.
So good.
No one can match that. No one.
Now,
no one ever will.
Love
him.
I've been a vocalist since I was 15 years old. I've had professional training at college. You know, I've been in 7 or 8, maybe 10 different bands. I played instruments in bands. I played drums in bands. But mainly I've been a vocalist. The way that they portray, I just don't know how to like. Dude, you don't just walk into a room with a band and all of a sudden figure out that you have this amazing voice.
Yeah, there's never in the history of the world. Me? Riders on the storm.
Yeah, right.
Like,
It's everyone's fantasy though that they could just do that,
course.
you know.
Yeah.
And it does, like, it is trying to be like a fantasy. Like, you do want to believe, oh, yeah, it was rags to riches. It was, just sex, drugs, and rock and roll. But that's not the real story.
Yeah, they worked.
And people will find out the real story, and they're going to know that your story is bullshit while watching it.
Like, with The Doors now, knowing Oliver Stone's tendencies to do melodrama and conspiracy and contort the truth. I mean, he's kind of like, I hate to say it, but Oliver Stone, as great of a director as he is, he's kind of like the Alex Jones of Hollywood.
Yeah,
you
I
know?
see
Absolutely.
Yeah, he gaslights. He goes for whatever he can to try and upset and change things to his own personal ideal.
I watched The Doors over again today, and it's a movie that I've just, like I said, been watching since middle school, and I kind of love to hate it. Like I don't like it, but I liked it how I feel about it. It's really I feel the same way about Natural Born Killers too. I hate it, but I love it to hate it.
The movie has not held up well.
Yeah, I know. But I forgot what I was gonna say. But I think I was gonna say, shoot. One of the things that bugs me about it is they go in a couple times to that he lies about his parents and where they are, and they don't go into why he has a problem with his family. And I would love to know why he did that. Oh, now I know what I was gonna say. He implies that Jim Morrison committed suicide, I think, in that movie too.
Oliver Stone is unhinged. He'll imply anything. He did a family home video. It'll be like, my grandson did Benghazi. It's that level of he's that unhinged where buy
my survival gear.
Buy my survival gear.
Oh, yeah.
He's that level where it's you can respect the craft and he has his own vision and style. Yeah. But he's batshit crazy.
It says at the end all these things happen where he shows him acting suicidal a couple times, throwing himself out off the ledge
Oh, that's
twice.
right.
At the very beginning of the movie, he's walking along the edge like he's going to fall off. So it's you already get this idea that this guy doesn't care about his life. And then he has this calm about him. When he's going to go to Paris and it's oh, here, take my poetry book and nice knowing ya, I'm going to go die now. And then he dies. And then it says, something they say he died of a heart failure, and it's
right.
I'm oh,
The weird thing is that you do still hear theories about,
of course,
Jim Morrison that that somebody murdered him and then in a bar
or that
and took him up to the bathtub and left him there. No, people, he overdosed.
I know,
and died.
it's well, my favorite thing is that he's not really dead and he's living in Africa, and that's just one of my favorite fantasies, that he's in the middle of a jungle doing these insane vocalizations that no human ear has ever heard and no human has ever done, but Jim Morrison age 60 70 got to that point.
I'd love to see some guy on a trip stumble it. He's is that Jim?
He's
is that Jim Morrison?
He walks up. This tiger's my only friend. This rhino's also my friend.
I faked my
chimpanzee,
own
my
death.
friend.
Now I have a podcast. He's a Twitch streamer. He sells his own bathwater. Buy my own bathwater. It's $16.95.
Free shipping for you.
Yikes.
Yeah! He does the Morrison scream.
Yeah. As he swings from a tree like Tarzan.
That guy's that was the weirdest safari I ever took.
We found Jim Morrison,
Jim Morrison. He's tried to sell me his bathwater. That's nuts.
People would buy his bathwater too.
Absolutely.
Oh, people would buy anything.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, we saw his grave when we were in Paris.
Yeah.
And it is kind of a sight to behold.
Oh, I've always wanted to go.
Because it is all graffiti and nasty still, but you can't get to it. They have a fence around it and security. It's pretty kind of gross. People desecrated his grave.
Yeah.
Basically. And I know they did it out of love for him.
Yeah.
But it's kind of sickening in a way too. It's like, just leave it there.
Didn't they move his body too recently?
I believe they did.
I don't know where it is now. But
Because it wasn't there.
Because he's not dead.
yeah,
He was in Africa.
He's a Twitch streamer in Africa.
He's swinging from a vine in Africa.
Swinging
I love
on
that.
vines.
I love that. That's like my favorite little like, if I have a bad day, I think that's
think of
okay.
that
Jim
theory.
Morrison's not dead.
Jim
He's
Morrison.
in Africa, screaming.
I'm excited.
This monkey's my only friend.
Friend. His name is Jojo. And then his brain's so fried with drugs that he just like
I can't think of any more words.
He just sits there and like stares for a minute. And he's having like a full on like acid flashback.
Yeah, he doesn't even need it
He's like,
anymore.
what the fuck?
And then he just stops. He's like, fuck Oliver Stone.
It's like,
I'm
fuck
out of here.
Oliver Stone.
Oh man.
Yeah. And the chimp's like, I did.
He fought Oliver Stone. I would believe that Oliver Stone
Would
have sex with a chimp.
Yeah.
Oh.
I totally, for a second, believe, and the sex tape
Why?
would be bonkers.
Why?
Just think about it. It's like he's like having sex with the chimp. He's like 9/11 didn't happen. Like what?
And you're so confused by watching him have sex
It's
with
like-
a chimp that you just believe anything he says,
But it's
right?
like crazy angles.
And the
It's
chimp's
just
name
like-
is Grassy Knoll.
and you see like a snake and a flame in the sand.
Yeah.
That's in every
It's
Oliver Stone
Jim
movie,
Morrison.
isn't it?
Yeah. He's got
Oh, we are terrible.
yeah.
So, do we have any more?
I do have one that I always thought was kind of underrated. Did you ever see Nowhere Boy? The John Lennon one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of like that one. It was an interesting approach because with the Beatles, you have like so many of these biopics feel like filmed Wikipedia entries, where it's just like on this day in 1967, he was on the Ed Sullivan Show and he performed. Blah, 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 blah. And this is just, it's a kid who grows up to be like a musician, and we just see him as like a young man.
And that movie cuts off before.
Yeah. Which
the
I think
actual
is
thing
is
takes place.
interesting. I think that's so like that's such a unique way to tell that story because so many of these movies are just, well, you're nobody, but now you have it all, but now you might lose it all. But
And
then
now
it
you
turns out-
overdosed.
Now you overdosed, or you came back
Uh-huh.
even better.
Yeah.
And it's like, come on, dude. Like, I understand it. You have a 2-hour movie, so you're not gonna like get detailed. But this kind of approach to it offers something different. It offers you a chance to go, well, this is the guy, and I
Right,
like that
right.
it wasn't just like it could easily be. I can easily see a Beatles movie like Bohemian Rhapsody, where it's all the big moments, like they're on Ed Sullivan, the Jesus Christ thing. And it just be a cluttered montage mess of a movie.
I don't think that'll ever happen, though. I
Yeah.
think there's far too many Beatles movies already. I don't
Yeah.
think that they're ever going to stray into doing a straight
Yeah,
Beatles movie, and I
Yeah.
really hope they don't.
I hope so too.
There's too much ground to cover. It would take 3 movies to
And
do
I
it.
love that with this movie, it's just this kid. You could easily take out the Beatles stuff, and it's still a really great drama about this kid finding his voice. And I think that's what it's a movie. It's not just it's this like a shot where you're like, do you get it? Oh yeah, he's gonna hold your hand.
Yesterday.
Like where it's just winking and nudging
Yeah.
at you and poking you in the gut, and it's like, yeah, we get it.
Yeah.
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 All right. I'm going to defer back to you because I know you had another one.
I
you
did
wanted
have
to
another
mention.
one, and I watched it for the first time last night because it was one I always wanted to watch, and I thought perfect time. As I watched CBGB's or CBGB, it's just called. There with Alan Rickman plays Hilly Crystal, the guy who owned it, and that movie was very. I go back and forth on being like it was bad and it was good. It was bad. It was.
It's
good.
very historically inaccurate.
I can tell because
But-
it's just like a bunch of little vignettes and little things that just happen, and I'm like, okay, whatever. It is kind of a like everything's hunky-dory type movie and not a lot of conflict, and I think that's what's bad about it because like I'm like, okay, well, I know that this is a legendary bar. So when you come in and you're talking about all these problems you're having and you're running out of money and everything, I'm like, well, whatever. You're going to be at the awning's going to be at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame one day. It's like, there's no
Yeah.
stakes here. And then the conflict they tried to have was with him and his daughter.
Oh, that's right.
And his daughter, trying to have the relationship with her, and her working for him, and like the big conflict is like, are you gonna break up with your boyfriend and go to school? And it's like, that's not a conflict.
Yeah.
A supportive dad is not a conflict.
Yeah.
That would have been a good movie for the Father's Day one though, because that was
the core of that story.
yeah. And that was one of those bad things where it's like these people just dressed up as rock stars, and then all of a sudden, this recording kicks in, and it's at the very end was Sting, and it was like I didn't know who the hell this guy was supposed to be.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, Roxanne, and I started cracking up. Because it was just like no one. I don't like the Police really, but no one sings like Sting. So when you start singing, like, it's just too distinctive, and this goofy-looking guy is not him.
Some of the people they had play the musicians looked pretty good.
Yeah,
though.
some of them were good. David Byrne looked just like him.
Yep.
The guy who played Joey Ramone looked just like him. I can't think of anyone else right now. A lot of the guy who they got to play Steve Bader is like nothing like him. I didn't even know it was supposed to be him.
I just wish the movie was a little more like gritty too.
Yeah.
I felt it just glossed over so much.
It
like
did.
I thought it was a fair movie.
Yeah.
I didn't love it. I didn't hate it, but I respect the history of that club and kind of what it did for all those bands in the 70s. But yeah, just Alan Rickman. I mean, God rest his soul.
Best.
Yeah. The best of the best.
He did a great job.
Yes.
He played that character really well. Just, that character is a lovable loser. Just someone who, he's not the best guy in the world. He screwed up a lot. He has a failed marriage. You don't even know what happened with him and his wife, but I mean, it's a failed marriage. And even his daughter says, like, yeah, mom was right for leaving you. And so, but like at his core, he's like really good guy, really supportive.
Yeah.
Was like a big brother to a lot of people, who needed that. And I thought it was cool that they had they tied in the story about Punk Magazine, and they had the little animations from it, like little comic book stuff that kind of like did exposition. That was like fun. And then in the end, I got like teared up because they showed Talking Heads, like actual footage of Talking Heads thank him from when they got inducted to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
That's right. That's right.
And they just, him and David Byrne and Tina Weymouth, like, gave these, like loving speeches about how, like, like, almost like he's their, like, father or something, or uncle. Like, he did so much just by giving them a place to play, essentially.
Yeah, he kind of fathered their art.
And I think Tina Weymouth said he was the one who said, you guys need to expand your sound. So he's like, so we have to thank him.
Yeah.
And they did.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
Talking Heads. Holy
best.
crap.
Yeah, they're awesome.
By the time they did Naked, you've heard that album, correct?
I don't know. Maybe.
So after the Smiths broke up, Johnny Marr joined Talking Heads for a couple years.
When was that?
Like, I believe 87, 88.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not like too versed like into the 80s with them.
This album had Nothing But Flowers on it.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And
I know
like,
that one.
Literally, it's funny because Johnny
Mike's
Marr
the
has a
Talking
very
Heads fan.
distinct guitar sound, and I had never heard the song before. Heard it on like 89X, and as soon as I heard the little, I'm like,
That's Johnny Marr.
wait a second, that's Johnny Marr.
Yeah.
And went and found the video. Yeah.
I didn't
And-
realize that was him, but yeah, now that you say that, yeah.
And that whole album, it's like Smith's
Yeah.
guitar
Yeah.
all over it. It's really cool.
Yeah, Mike's the Talking Heads fan. So
Oh,
like
okay. So
but
he
like so
knows.
he's got all the albums and everything, and like I've kind of just like piggybacked on his fandom. So I know it all, but I don't know that I know. Like I know I knew it when you said it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's
I
very
love them.
distinct. Now when you listen to that album, you'll be like, oh, yeah, I hear
Yeah.
the Smiths in Talking Heads. What?
Yeah.
But yeah, he was only in the band for a little while, like a year or
Yeah.
two maybe. So a few we didn't mention, Walk the Line.
I love Walk the
Okay,
Line.
yeah.
Great film.
Johnny Cash. Beautiful story. Joaquin Phoenix does a great job.
Oh, yeah. That dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
the man.
He is the man. Obviously, Sid and Nancy, which again is revisionist history for sure.
Yeah.
That is we talked about that when we did the other Rock one. That movie is like being dragged through the dirt. That is a hard watch.
Yeah.
Have you seen Sid and Nancy?
I have. I went on a binge where I watched a bunch of Alex Cox movies.
Okay.
And that was probably the roughest one I had to watch. It was a fantastic movie. I loved it, but
it's terrifying.
That's like a one and done for me.
Yeah.
I don't want to feel the feelings I felt watching that movie.
saw it. I barely even remember it, to be honest. I don't even remember if I liked it or not. I probably just, I don't know. It's depressing.
It's very depressing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a depressing
very
story,
intimate.
so.
Yeah, the entire thing, it's a hard watch.
Yeah.
Courtney Love's in it, though, which is
she
kind of
is.
cool.
Yeah.
But yeah. But I think I'm good for the night. Are you guys good?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah,
cool.
I think so. Yeah.
All right, we'll be back next week. We got a couple ideas stewing. So
Stewing in the Movie Sleuth laboratory.
Yeah. So stick around, see what we come up with.
Apologies to Jason Biggs.
Yeah,
I didn't mean to out your pie secret.
He should be apologizing to us.
He really
honestly,
should.
Honestly, dude, I made that key lime pie for my family, and it's not a cream pie. I'm really mad.
Ooh.
So we got Jason Biggs. You've emotionally
dude.
scarred us.
Canceled.
On that note,
Maybe,
sweet dreams.
Maybe Jim Morrison and Jason Biggs.
Oh, they room together.
Yeah. That's what's going on.
Jason Biggs, stop fucking that pie.
Pie.
Put your pants back on.
Jim Morrison might be into that, though.
He might
probably
be,
is.
yeah. It may. Oh God, it's a three-way.
We got to go. Bye.
All right, good night.
Sweet dreams.
Sweet dreams. I love.
Visit us at www.themoviesleuth.com and find The Movie Sleuth on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and iTunes.